Hey there, fellow travelers. This is Dharma Bunk coming to you. I'm currently up in the Shining Rock Wilderness. One of my favorite places to go. I love this pine forest. I came up here to shoot a couple of videos. I wanted to talk today. I realized I've had this tent for a couple of years, and so I thought I'd actually do an in-depth, long-term use kind of video on it. I did a little bit a couple weeks ago when I was on Siler, and I may include a clip of that in this video as well. Primarily, I just want to talk about what I've come to realize as I'm using it. So let me get the camera here. So the first thing I want to talk about, this is the Tarptent Rainbow. It's the Silnylon version. It's the single person version. And I've had it for about 3 years. And it's first couple times I had it, I put it in a position way beyond its limitations. It worked out well. It worked out okay. I survived. But it has its limitations. Now, as I may have mentioned before, you've probably seen my other video on my Tarptent Moment DW. These are both the Silnylon versions, and they're both using the same ripstop nylon 66, double-coated polyester, 30 denier. Really nice material. Sort of translucent, as you can see, but a very nice, strong ripstop grid in it. You do need to seam seal all of these tents yourself, or have them do it. Because the silicone won't accept seam tape. So you must put a liquid seam sealer on it. Frankly, you're better off. I've had jackets that are of mine that they're quite old. Okay, they're quite old. But the Gore-Tex tape came off. The seam tape came off the Gore-Tex. So everything else is great about the jacket except the tape. So now it's kind of ragged looking. So I'm actually a fan of the seam sealer. You know, it's a little clumsy. It's not as convenient. But in the long run, it's a better option. I also like the Silnylon a lot better than any of your polyurethane coated tents. The polyurethanes, if you've ever heard that or smelled that funky tent smell, that's what it's from, is the degrading of the polyurethane. These do not do that. In fact, according to the Tarptent website, impregnating it with the silicone on both sides actually increases the tear strength of the tent. Now you may notice I've got these yellow strings on here. I'll get into that in a second. Those are obviously, I added them on, obviously. And I think it goes pretty well with the tent. I like the colors, you know. I think it works pretty well. So let's go over some of the other details. Here's the back side. You know, if you look at this tent like this, it's a huge half circle. And it's a huge flat surface. So it really catches the wind. And that's why I decided to install these guy lines on here. And they, one side is fixed, and this is, you know, on that side. I'm using, so you can go through these things here. I decided to put a piece of nylon rope in there. It's reflective, and as are these. But for just a little extra stretch and slack, just so it doesn't stress out that the sleeve that holds the pole. You've only got one pole, so you want to take care of it. Here's another factor. See, all of these tents, okay, let me just back up a bit. The reason that I went with Tarptent to begin with, the reason I was interested in their designs, is that they set up fly first. And I've neglected to mention this in my other videos. So I went through many, many years, like all of us did, with a classic, what I call American style tent, where the inner tent has a frame and it's got a mesh ceiling. It's got a fabric bottom and a mesh ceiling, and you insert it's got a fabric bottom and a mesh top, and you erect it with the framework, and then you put the rain fly over it, which is great until it's raining and you need to set your tent up in the rain. Then everything gets soaked. Then you put the rain fly over that. Then you must get inside and dry everything off. Just extra hassle, you know? So that's why I went with this brand. You can set them up, both of them can set up fly first. This one is nothing but a fly. This is a single wall tent. The only mesh on it is the bug screen, which is like this entire wall. And here's the bug screen here. See if I can do this one-handed. Probably not. But anyway, you get the idea. So it's a big zippered mesh thing here. Yeah. Did he get it? Is he get it? Did he get it? No! You tied it up even tighter. All right, hold on. All right, enough of that falderall. So I just... Here's a nice little reinforcement. Whoops. Woo. At the end of the zipper, they have this nice little patch here to reinforce it so it doesn't rip. Nice thoughtful design. They have a J-zip, which goes all the way up like that. And I usually leave them right there in the middle so that in the middle of the night I know exactly where they are. I also put another little bit of a string on the inside so that, you see this here, it's just a zipper pull thing. Again, so in the middle of the night, I can find it easier, that's all. And they both go way up in there. It's a yellow string, okay? And it has a vent, both sides. I mean, yeah, both the sides of this, and this is how the cross thing fits in there. Okay. Now, I did lose this in a big storm. The first time I ever used this tent, this thing went flying, the tent went flat, everything came apart. It was pretty weird. It was a pretty wild night on top of Siler. I ended up, let me go wide here. I ended up just hanging on to pieces of fabric. And then I'd get out when I could, put the stake in again, the front door stake, you know. And then wait for the next beating to come. So you've got, sorry about that. Here's all my stuff. You know, a really nice, again, Silnylon floor. Very slick when I first got it. This thing was like a surfboard, surfing around at night. It's very roomy tent for a single person. Okay, as I said in my last video, it's about 40 inches across, so they say, and about 88 inches long, so they say 84, 88, something like that. And then this is the liner fabric that I bought before. Kind of going through the whole thing again for you. And then here's the interesting thing. It's really well ventilated all the way around. Okay, everywhere around here. And you have little elastic things you can hook it up. But all the way around this edge, all the way around, is ventilated. So, I mean, I can feel a little breeze coming in right now. Before I realized that, I would have to stuff sacks and whatever was loose clothing I could stuff in there to keep the wind down when I was on top of a big mountain or something. I think this tent's great overall, and I think it's best meant for a little bit not so raucous weather, excuse me. But overall, very livable. I have very little condensation issues with it, as I said in my last video. And overall, it's been a super tent. And it only weighs, even with all my extra stakes, I bought, you know, extra stakes for this guy out system here. Even with that, I'm only at 2 pounds, 4 ounces. You know, of course, your mileage may vary. Maybe you'll be at 2.5, 2.3, whatever, 2.2. But, you know, just over 2 pounds and all that room? Heck yeah. I should have reset this one. I don't know if I'm just leave it well enough alone. They all have adjustments here and it's sewn in. And it's all this, you know, the high strength, wimpy cord that's out there these days. Kind of my only sort of negative about these tents is that the tent pole inserts into this little tiny pocket here. It's a little too short. It really should be another at least a 1/4 inch longer. It pops out, the pole pops out when you're setting it up. It should, so that should be deeper. It's not, it's a little inadequate. What you do is you have this loose here, and then when you get the thing inserted, then you tighten it down all the way. It works, but that pocket really definitely needs to be bigger. But what are you going to do? Very small complaint. And then obviously everything's adjustable, each corner. I really like these stakes. These are the Easton straight tent stakes. They hold very well in all kinds of terrain. This is loose duff in a pine forest. Obviously we are in a pine forest, right? So the ground here is quite a lot different than on a mountaintop, which is typically very well compacted clay and very little of it. They hold very well in both conditions, both strata. So we got a little breeze. It's usually breezy here. This is where this tent really took a beating a few years ago, just down there in the greenery. Took another beating, and that's how this tent. And this one here got a little bent. You can kind of see the little kick out there. The pole itself did not bend. The carbon pole did not bend, break, or crack or anything. The aluminum joint bent. So I've just left it. It's been a couple years. So anyway, that's about it. Here it is from the front with the door open. And as you can see, plenty of room. Whoops. Plenty of room for your gear under here. Easy enough to get in and out of when it's raining. And overall, a great tent. So here's a shot of the interior without anything in it. It's pretty wide. It's a nice big rectangle. Yeah, I could get it pitched a little bit better somehow. Pull these corners out, I suppose. But, you know, it certainly works like this. It's nice and roomy. I thought I'd make an addendum to my tent review yesterday. I was talking about the weight and all that stuff. And then I realized I'd forgotten to describe how I outfitted the tent itself, because there's several ways you can do it through their website. So I opted for the carbon fiber poles. Okay, here's the cross pole, and then the main pole is also carbon fiber. Did that to save some weight. I've been very happy with these poles. As I've stated every time I talk about this tent, it survived some really wicked conditions, and not an issue with the poles themselves, with the carbon themselves. I did mention that I have this little, where the aluminum, you can see that little knee joint right there is kind of bent. That's the aluminum part that bent. Now, carbon doesn't bend, it shatters. But aluminum bends, and it took the heat, I guess. Took the bend. So I've got the carbon poles. I've also got, as I mentioned in this and another video, this liner piece, this fabric liner, which it's supposed to keep the drips off of you. And then also this sort of attic thing here. That clips up there. See if I can get a shot of that. There we go. Not too easy with in the morning. Anyway, so one minor complaint. I'm not the only one. The pockets on these tents are just a little small. Pockets all around, I think, to store your stuff and to put the poles in. They're just a bit small. Other than that, I have no complaints at all about these tents. So I just wanted to say, and then I've weighed it several times. I have one of those portable digital scales. 2 pounds 4 is pretty much what this weighs at. And that's with the standard, let's see how many, there's like 5 or 6 of these standard Easton stakes. And then I have these 4 of the, what do they call those, shepherd hooks. I like them because when you push them right into the ground, it really holds the string. They're for my, emergency deployment there. And I like the hook because if you get it right down in the ground, it doesn't flap away. I've had that issue before when you're using straight pegs or whatever. Sometimes they flap away. Now what Tarptent does, I'll get out of the shadow there. Let's see. You can see this black ring. It's a black plastic ring. And then it does not come through the head. It's like a huge nail, essentially. And you can also tie a string through the head of that tent stake. I love these stakes. They're great. They hold in everything. They have a flat top on them, so if you need to step on it or pound on it to get it into the ground, you're not going to bend anything, as opposed to some of the other stakes that are out there on the market that have all the curves and cutouts in them and all that stuff. They're creating weak spots. So I prefer these. And that's about it. Yeah, that's a little extra little goodies I forgot to mention the other day. There's always a lot of things to say, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you check out Tarptent and their other offerings, and hope you enjoyed this video. I'm also going to add the other video I did at Siler Ball, because that talks about condensation in this tent, and so I think that's a pretty good thing. I'm going to put them both together, so you'll see the next video is me at Siler Ball just a few weeks ago. All right, have a great one.